Hey everybody, welcome to episode 10. We're your hosts. I'm Tom Higgins.
I'm Jeff Ward.
And this is our 10th episode. It's a bit of a milestone for us.
Yeah, a little bit.
We
a
big one at that.
Killed each other yet?
Yeah.
Getting close, though. Getting very close.
10 episodes of me and actually putting up with Jeff and Jeff putting up with me. So, hey.
So
today we're...
basically what we're going to do is...
a bunch of games today.
Yeah, well, we're basically... The reason why we started this show is because, like, we're big gamers and we've always loved games, and so we're going to take a look at the games that sort of, got us into this sort of lifestyle, because gaming for us is a lifestyle. It's what we do for fun most of the time.
Yeah.
Like, we're very white. We don't leave the house very often. We just play fucking games all the time, and basically we're going to take a look at the old ones that kept us indoors as kids and made us as pale as we are today.
Yeah. So we're looking at a bunch of old games as promised. It's retro.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got Bionic Commando, Blades of Steel, and Ninja Gaiden, all for the Nintendo Entertainment System.
Yep.
And after that, we got Zombies Ate My Neighbors for the Super Nintendo.
Which is actually a big fan favorite of a lot of people. That's a pretty big game for that console.
It's a little bit. It's kind of underrated, but we'll get into that game.
Mm-hmm.
We're starting off this one with Bionic Commando.
Now, one of the reasons why we chose this game is because the new one has come out, the new one on the console, and then there was the rehash for the Xbox 360 arcade. But aside from that, I mean, Tom and I were huge fans of this game growing up. Like, I had this game on the NES, and it was actually, like, I forgot about it for the longest time, and then I went over to your place, and you had this game, and I was like, man, I remember this from somewhere. And as soon as you booted it up, I recognized it. It was like... It had never left my possession. It's a fantastic game.
It's a great game. We really just chose it because of all the intention it's getting from Nintendo.
Yeah.
Or not Nintendo, but Capcom and Grin. And it's a great game, and anybody would really be hard-pressed to improve upon its gameplay. Like, aside from graphics, they can always be done better, considering this is Nintendo or now on the Xbox. But it's a hard game to improve. They did everything right. It was actually released 1988. Sorry, 98.
98?
Yeah. It's actually a sequel. There's actually an arcade version that came out in 87.
I never played the arcade.
Neither did I.
I never found a coin-op machine that was Bionic. I wish, because I'd really like to give it a try. With the joystick, I think it might be a little bit a little better experience. Yeah. But I mean, even on the D-pad, it's still fantastic.
Yeah. But yeah, you play as Nathan Spencer, is the hero with the bionic arm.
Nathan Rad Spencer.
Yeah, Rad Spencer. You get to grapple onto pretty much any object, like any floor kind of object, and anything that's like that. Yeah,
lights, lampposts. Well, actually, no, you can't do the barrel thing. That only came in the Xbox 360 one.
Rearmed. But yeah, so that's really the big mechanic of the series, which makes it unique is you have to swing. There is no jump button in Bionic Commando and Bionic Commando Rearm. Yeah,
there was sort of a similar theme about back in the day with games that just like they had a whole bunch of great mechanics and then they just left one thing out. Like Bionic Commando, no jump button, but it made up for it because you got the swinging and you can shoot in all directions. Mega Man, you can't shoot up. Yeah. The strangest thing ever. You can shoot all over the place, hang on walls, can't shoot up. Why? I don't know. Maybe that fucking arm is just a little bit too heavy to lift up. Nathan Spencer, he can shoot in all directions, can't jump. So
he's got iron boots on.
Yeah, he's got iron boots. So another thing, takes no fall damage. He can just jump from wherever you want and just hit the ground. I think the worst part about this game, and I'm gonna say the worst part because there's really not much wrong with it. It's just the color palette's a little bland.
It's a little bland, but I mean,
it's 8-bit, but we've seen more colorful 8-bit games back then.
Yeah. But the best part is the story. Like, for those of you who played the Japanese version of the game, it's completely different because the villains are Nazis, not the bads as they're called in Europe, or the Imperials in North America. And what they're trying to do is revive Hitler. In fact, in Japan, the game is called Top Secret Hitler's Revival. Yeah. Like, completely different.
That's a strange title.
Like, Bionic Commando and Top Secret Hitler's Revival changes, like, your whole look at the game.
Yeah.
It's just completely different. So it's got huge story differences. Like, the gameplay and the general, I guess, the direction of the story is all the same. They just changed key names and changed a lot of the symbology. Like in the Japanese version, they do use the swastika. In North America and Europe, they actually switched it to an albatross because of the whole Project Albatross. We're not going to spoil these games, even though most of you have probably played it.
I would hope so. I mean, these are kind of games that you really need to play. And nowadays, it's a little bit harder to find, especially this one on the NES. But I mean, we found it. We paid $10 for it. It's $10 for the cartridge. You know, it's definitely a good buy. If you can find it out there somewhere for less than $100, I'd say pick it up because you're going to have fun with it, at least for a little while.
Yeah.
There is, however, kind of a steep learning curve. There's it's old school NES, no tutorial, no we're going to hold your hand and walk you through the first level. You're just dropped in and it's like, enjoy. And it's kind of hard to enjoy it when you're playing it the first time. I remember having it beat the shit out of me as a child. And
there's no multiplayer, though.
I honestly...
That's a big downside.
Well, yeah. But, I mean, that wasn't a big part of console games back in the day.
It wasn't. But
I remember, like, honestly, when I was a kid, I could never beat the first level of this game, and it took me until I was 20 years old when I came over here and Tom was playing it, and I finally beat the first level, and just by the skin of my ass, too. Like, I was just scraping by. I was jumping off cliffs, landing in the water, dying, getting shot up. It was... Yeah. It was a pain in the ass,
but painful to watch.
Yeah, it definitely was. But I mean, it's a game that find on a ROM emulator. I mean, at the very least, go back and play Rearmed because it's a very faithful redone of the game. It's a great game.
Yeah. By the way, Bionic Commando Rearmed. If you haven't played it yet, it's on the Xbox 360 Arcade and PlayStation Network. And Bionic Commando, the retail release, is on the Xbox 360 and PS3 and PC, I believe, as well.
Is it?
I think so. I'm not sure.
Not sure.
But jumping down the line, we got Blades of Steel.
Yeah, this is like really the only sports game this guy likes. He's not a big fan of sport, other than Tiger Woods every now and again.
The occasional golf game. But
yeah, Blades of Steel. It's a game. It's not really a sports game, really. It's sort of like
It is a weird mishmash of three kinds of games. It's one of the first hockey games that I can recall that actually has fighting in it.
Yeah. That's definitely true.
Which is damn near impossible.
No, but
With 2 buttons, it is so difficult.
It took us like 21 years to figure out how you fight in this game, and we finally figured it out like 2 days ago. He figured it out, and he finally showed me tonight as we're filming, and I was like, what?
I didn't know what to do.
We would always just hit the buttons as fast as you can, and apparently there's actually modifiers low and high, and you can block, and we never knew this, so...
Yeah. But, it's your hockey game that... You can get into fist fights, which is kind of weird, because essentially both you and the other guy have to do that for a while.
Yeah.
And if you don't have the hockey puck, you're both just mashing buttons till one of you falls over. But if one of the players does have the puck, it actually starts up a whole new fight sequence.
And then there's little, like,
better
dots
detail.
for a health meter.
5 points essentially on each side, and you beat the tar out of each other or block.
The graphics in that, like, actually are pretty good. Like, it sort of just goes into a 2D fighter mode on skates.
Yeah.
And it's pretty intense, like, especially when it's two people who have no idea what the hell they're doing. They're like, I don't know, how is the guy's health going down? And it's like, it's actually pretty frantic. The hockey part of it is pretty good. I'd say it's pretty much as... If you ever play one of those old school tabletop hockey games with the little, rods and stuff, and you go back and forth on that, that's basically what the game is like. The goalie just goes back and forth, back and forth. It's very easy to score. I've never gotten out of a game where I haven't scored at least 10 goals.
The AI is very stupid in this game.
Yeah.
But what can you expect, really?
I mean, I think for the time, this is probably one of the best hockey games you could ever play on the NES, and I mean, even now,
it's not one of the greatest, just all-time hockey games. I know that's a big statement.
Yeah, with your NHL,
with the,
09 EA
Xbox
Sports,
360 and PS3, we've got games on every system.
It's so fun.
It's a standout of the Nintendo series. It's a hockey game that is actually, I don't even know many hockey games on the NES, now that I think about it.
Yeah, I actually don't know either. Blades of Steel is basically the only one I can think of off the top of my head. There's probably some.
But really, if you think of hockey games, and if, this is one of those games that just jumps to the back of your mind, because it's like, hey, it was a good game.
Yeah, it definitely was. It brings back a lot of old memories. I mean, I remember playing it with my dad in the living room, and, him being pissed off that I was playing as Toronto when I scored a goal against him, and he was just angry. And it's just like, it's these old-time things that just like...
And there's only 8 teams, too, and surprisingly, 4 teams are Canadian.
Yeah.
That's like, it's got the entire Canadian... Actually, it doesn't have Winnipeg in it.
No.
No, but still, it's 14... I don't even know what the
Winnipeg
American
was in the
teams
WHL then, I think, though.
Yeah. But it's got, Toronto, Vancouver, Montreal, and Edmonton in it. And that was kind of huge back in the day to have a half Canadian list of teams.
Yeah.
That was...
It's a really fun... This is back in the day when people used to play video games like around a huge like Radiation King TV with the heat coming off of it, and it was like, it was a big family event, and you would pass around the controller, and nowadays you play games by yourself and you talk on a headset with some guy in China. This is back in the day when people would actually come over to your house to play a video game, and it's definitely a good reminiscent of the old times.
Yeah. It was released in 1988 as well, and much like Bionic Commando, it did also spend a year in the arcades.
Yeah, it had also some great sound effects too, like the crowd sound effects, skates, shots, and
it's actually got voices in it too.
Yeah, voices. One of the few games that actually has voices.
Start of the game. Hopefully, we'll try and get
Blades
some
of
audio
steel.
or audio clips going on. It actually says, Blades of Steel, and you're like, wow, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
For the NES, you would not expect.